Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another absolutely epic model that has just released from Dino Dream. They continue on with their Jurassic Park models, and as you can see, we've got ourselves a Lost World Jurassic Park model, which, I think this is the first time, actually. Yes, because technically we had a Jurassic Park model, then we had Jurassic Park 3, now we have the Lost World Jurassic Park, so as of this model, we have officially covered at least one scene from the first 3 films, and there are quite a few more models to come from Dino Dream, and again, some stuff I believe that hasn't even been announced yet. But you can see we've got the Compsognathus group, and this one looks super cool, and it's definitely a model that I'm really happy about because I do have some of the older compies from Dino Dream, and they are the best Compsognathus models in my collection. No doubt about it, they really are phenomenal, and I highly recommend picking up the older ones, but I'm very much so excited to see these newer ones. And you can see front of the box sports some absolutely incredible artwork, as every single one of these Dino Dream releases have had so far. The boxes are honestly just as impressive as the models consistently, and you can see that here yet again with this Compsognathus group model. If you look down here to the side, you can kind of see more of the image that we have going on up here, more of the vegetation and stuff, and you've got, again, Compsognathus group, 1/5 scale, Dino Dream. If we come over here to the side, you can now see, again, a little shot of one of the compies right there, as well as the Dino Dream logo, and then up here on the top, the Lost World Jurassic Park, which is always epic to see on any box, and then pretty much the same thing, but a different image of a compy over here. And then when we actually take a look, actually it's upside down, so we take a look here at the back of the box, you can now see quite the gathering, honestly, of different images here showing off the model that we are about to take a look at. So, after looking at these images on the back of the box, I'm pretty much unable to contain myself at this point. I absolutely need to get this box open and check this out, so let's do that right now. So here is the base, and you can see the base has, again, that nice sort of, jungle-like setting that exactly the area you would expect to find the compies, exactly the type of area you see the Compsognathus in the Lost World Jurassic Park. And not only that, you can see how we kind of have like this little area of water down here, so it sort of gives you the feeling of like the stream, which is exactly where we see one of the most monumental scenes with the Compsognathus as they make their first kill in the Jurassic franchise. Actually, yeah, I can't remember if there were more kills, but definitely the most memorable, that's for sure. But it looks really, really beautiful, no doubt about that. Then we've got our very first compy here, fresh out of the packaging, and man, does that ever look nice. I had no doubt that it was going to look beautiful because, again, as I said, I have the older compies from Dino Dream, but that is definitely really nice. They look better in person than they did from some of the images that I had seen online. And each one of the compies are kind of wrapped in this paper, so we'll go ahead and unwrap this one, and you'll see we have different poses for each of the different compies. This time we've got a nice head turn here. Man, the paintwork looks really nice on these. I believe the models themselves are probably taken from the SWS data, the Stan Winston Studios original data, so they're as screen accurate when it comes to Jurassic Park Compsognathus as you are ever going to find. I don't know how I'm going to get this guy to stand up exactly. There we go. Because they have pegs on the underside of their feet to apply them to the base. Then yet again, another compy. This time we've got one kind of squatting down, as I think maybe one of them is potentially trying to take a drink. That one fell over, so we've got to find a better way to sit that one up for right now until we find where to put them on the base. And then we have the final compy here. Pretty interesting looking pose on this one as it looks up, but each and every one of these look honestly incredible. Of course, sculpt-wise they do, but paint work-wise as well, considering how small they are. You never know exactly how nice the paint will turn out on something small like this, but Dino Dream absolutely knocked this out of the park, and that is honestly an understatement. So rather than figuring out where they go on the base right now, we're just going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look, because what would be the point in putting them in the base to only then take them right back out? So we'll jump to a closer look, take a look at all of this, and then we'll put them on the base and check out the entire final product all put together. So taking a look at the very first compy of the group that we have here, you can see the head sculpt is absolutely excellent. Like, when it comes to a Jurassic Park, or I should say Lost World Jurassic Park Compsognathus, that is as spot on and picture perfect as you are ever going to find. It really does not get any better than that. You can also see we've got some nice paintwork here for the face, as you have variations of green, and you can see again, even though the head sculpt is really small, they have added in a few different variations of color. You can definitely notice it on the lower jaw, which is always very impressive. And the eye paintwork is incredible. You can see there's a very nice gloss coat on the eye, making the eye look as realistic and lifelike as it could possibly get. And considering, again, you can see that head fits within my fingertip. That shows you just how impressive that paintwork is. You can also see a little extra coloration there in the throat, as we have sort of like a pinkish tone down there, or a reddish tone in the throat, but you can also see like some nice yellowish tones here on the underside of both the lower jaw and then moving down through the course of the throat, which is really impressive. And look at the skin texture right there in the throat. You can see all sorts of, skin wrinkles and skin folds and stuff, just showing the movement of the compy perfectly. As you move down the course of the neck, you can see we do have a nice turn in the neck for this one, as it's making a left turn there with its neck, taking a look at something, and you can see the paintwork continues to look gorgeous, as we have a lighter tone, of course, for the underside. You've got a nice variation of green, and then as you move up further, you have an even darker shade of green, and there is a very, very subtle striping moving down through the course of the neck, leading down into the back of the compy. I think it becomes a little bit more obvious, but for the most part, it still stays pretty subtle as far as that striping goes moving down. They've done a very good job of applying the paintwork in a really smooth, natural way. As you lead down here into the arms, you can see we've got those nice, lanky, long arms like you see on the compies. You can also see the fingers are sculpted beautifully. If we can get my finger in here to kind of stop it from blurring up and losing focus, but you can see we also have a nice sort of a brownish tone there for the hands, nice scoots down the fingers. The nails are painted really nicely with a black. They also seem to sport a gloss coat to them, which is always a nice realistic addition to any model. You can also see the legs are crouched on this one a little bit, and the muscle definition is very nicely showing. You can see especially in the calf muscle right there, but you can again really appreciate how good the paintwork is, I think, moving down through the course of this leg when you look at how smooth those transitions are. And especially when we turn it at this point here, this position, and we let the light hit it, you can really see how impressive the fine detail to the skin texture is as well. But as you move down into the foot, just like we saw in the hands, we transition to a brownish tone down there for the feet. You can also see the nails again painted really nicely with that black. You can kind of see how the nails are sort of shining with the light hitting it. And you do have dew claws. The dew claws are, yes, they are painted, of course, which is always a definite plus for any figure. But as you move out the length of the tail, you can see we've got a really nice long tail, of course, for a compy. That's exactly what you would expect, but you can also see we continue to have that striping effect. It's definitely more obvious out here, but when you look at how smooth the application of that striping is, it just looks as natural when it comes to body color as it could honestly get. You definitely don't see any paintwork on this model, or any, honestly, model from Dino Dream that looks like paint on a figure. It always looks 100% like body color. And as you move here through the underside, you can kind of see like some pinkish tones for the undersides of the feet. You can also see more of that as you look at the undersides of the stomach here in the chest, as well as in the groin area. You see more of those sort of reddish or pinkish tones showing up again, exactly replicating the coloration of a Jurassic Park Compsognathus. You can see the head sculpt on the opposing side looks gorgeous. We even have like some slight bluish dry brushing here on the face, just adding a little extra color variation throughout. And then as you move through the course of the body, you can see it looks very consistent, of course, to what we saw on the first side. You're not going to see too much difference other than the head facing away and the tail facing away on this side, because the legs are in pretty close to the same position. Same deal for the arms. You can obviously see there are some differences, like specifically the positioning of the wrist on the left arm compared to the right arm, but for the most part, it looks pretty similar on this side compared to the way it looked on the first side. But again, that means that it looks absolutely incredible from both sides. Then we've got the compy that's kind of looking up in the air, and I love that there are very subtle differences between the different compys, because one thing you'll notice on this one is that there's definitely more of that bluish tone on the lower jaw, and that's something that is really cool, and also something that I feel like you do see on the compys is just ever so slight differences in coloration to them. So very nice addition as far as that goes from Dino Dream. Another thing that's really impressive about these models is if you look at the eyes nice and close, there's actually variation of color to the eyes. The eyes, although, at first glance might look like they're just a black, they're actually not. There appears to be kind of like a reddish tone or even a reddish brown maybe in there, and then a black on top of that for like the pupil area, and then of course a gloss coat added just to top that off and make it look as real as possible. So very impressive even when it comes to the paint application of the eyes. As you lead down, same style of paintwork and sculpt work as what we had seen on the first copy. Again, the wrinkling in the neck, kind of a little bit of saggy skin there in the throat region, more of that reddish or pinkish tone right there, and you see more of those really nice vibrant greens, as well as again some more variations of that pinkish tone showing up here and there. We've got those really nice looking greenish tones up here as we again darken to a very dark variation of green leading up there on the back of the neck. As you can see, the head is kind of positioned upward, almost in the position that we see the compy in the beginning of the Lost World Jurassic Park when the little girl finds them on the island, and it looks very curious. It's kind of the positioning, actually, of this one. As you lead down into the arms, you can see how the arms are in different positions this time around, but we still have, again, that really nice sculpt work, really nice paint work, very smooth transitioning to the coloration of the hands, and again, the nails, and even though they're so tiny, are painted to perfection. As you move up here, you can kind of make out the rib cage of the compy, and again, extremely smooth paintwork. You can see more of that sort of striping effect, very thin stripes moving down here through the course of the side of the compy, and you see even a little bit more of that striping leading down through the thigh here, which is nice. And again, that skin texture is phenomenal, like the fine detail of these compies. There is absolutely no better Jurassic Park compy on the market than what you are seeing right here from Dino Dream. These are absolutely excellent. But as you move down, you can see the muscle definition in both the thigh and calf, the kneecap there kind of showing within the skin there. You can also see how this one is kind of taking a step. You've got one leg sort of trailing, one leg leading. Again, the nails all painted perfectly. Very nice transitioning to the difference in coloration of the foot. And then again, we lead out through the length of the tail. Very nice, elegant curve, as you always see. And you can see, again, that striping effect moving out through the course of the tail. Really nicely applied. And you're going to see that same style of paintwork as what we had seen on the other one here for the underside of the compy as well. And again, you're not going to see too much difference over here, but man, I honestly cannot get over how beautiful these are. Like, if you are a fan of the Lost World Jurassic Park compies, or even just the Lost World Jurassic Park in general, these are a definitive must-have. I really cannot recommend these as far as a Compsognathus model any more than I am right now, because these are as excellent as it gets. And again, the striping effect moving out the tail there looks really cool, but definitely a gorgeous compy just like the first one. Then the next one is definitely in a very much so crouching position. You can see this one kind of looks like maybe it's about to take a drink. We'll have to see once we put it on the base exactly what it's doing. But again, a little variation of color here in the face. You can almost see some light hints of bluish tones, but not quite the same way that we had seen them on the last one. So continuing to give each and every compy its own individual look, while still, again, following the trend of what a Lost World Jurassic Park compy would look like. You've got the same coloration there for the underside of the throat. Again, as you move down, you can see how the arms are positioned differently on this one as well, as one arm is lifting up ever so slightly more so than the other. We've got those really nicely sculpted fingers that my camera won't focus on. There we go. Again, the really tiny fingernails that are just so impressively well done when it comes to the paintwork standpoint. As you move back, you can see skin wrinkles and skin folds there leading back from the arm and further back into the stomach region. You can pick out the rib cage yet again, the nice striping effect moving down through the course of the compy. It's a little more obvious, I think, on this one than the others. You can see that again moving down through the course of the thigh as well. You can really see how the muscles are tensing, especially the calf muscle, considering the squatting position that we have for the compy. I also really like the positioning of the feet, because I feel like it's very bird-like, the way that the toes and everything are bent, which I feel like the compies always give off that bird-like feel, that strong bird-like feel. And then you lead out through the length of the tail. You can see this one has a very strong curve here for the compy's tail toward the animal's right, and really, really nice looking as far as that curve goes. And considering how long the tails always are for a Jurassic Park compy. Not just a Jurassic Park, any compy really, but it just looks so cool. Definitely gives off a really nice visual, and when you see the greenish tones with that striping effect moving down, that as well looks great. But of course, not too much as far as a difference in positioning or anything over here. It looks very nice, very consistent to what we had seen with the first side of this. Again, incredible Compsognathus, and the same deal here for the underside. There's just so much variation of color, and it's all so smooth when it comes to the application. Absolutely mind-blowing. And then we've got the final compy, and this one has its head turned to the right. You can see a very sharp turn there to the head and neck region. You can see the eyes are again painted beautifully. We still have a little tiny hint of that bluish tone, but nothing like we had seen on that one where the entire lower jaw almost was that bluish tone. So again, a little difference, but you can also see again the gloss coat on the eye looks great. I like that they've defined all of the mouth areas of these figures as well with a darker tone, so that looks nice and is nicely highlighted in the paint job as well. You can even see the ear there on the back of the compy. As you move down, you can see again the sort of reddish or pinkish tone of the underside of the throat, as well as those nice yellowish greens moving down. And then as you lead down, you can see the arms are pretty close to in the same spot, not too far off from each other, just slightly different, again adding some life to the model. And then of course these models are absolutely filled with life when it comes to the positioning, but you can see that the skin texture looks great here in the stomach region, and look how smooth that transition is down to that lighter variation of green in the stomach. That looks super, super nice. We again have the compy kind of standing tall with this one. You can see the legs stretched out. The muscle definition still nicely shown in the sculpt and nicely highlighted, but it's just really standing quite tall. We've got a nice curve again for the tail, this time in the opposite direction as what we had seen on the last one. Again, that striping effect moving out just like we saw on all of the other compies, and this time you can see how the head again is facing away from us. You can definitely pick up on a little bit of that blue there in the face of this one. And then as you move down again, you can see everything stays nice and consistent when it comes to the appearance, the sculpt, the paintwork. Everything just looks as perfect as it honestly gets. And then we've got the base, and the base is so nice. I love the water effect that we have going on down here, and within the water you can see the Lost World Jurassic Park logo, which is super cool to see kind of under the water right there. Definitely looking really nice. And as you move through, you can see, just like we saw on the Pteranodon model, they've added in like some random vegetation and so much variation of color on top of the extremely realistic water effect that they have on here that looks like absolute genuine water here before us. And I love how it even gets so nice and shallow the further up to shore that it gets. You can also see that we've got like mossy areas and stuff up here, and you'll see more of that when you move over here. Lots of variation of color in the areas that sport that mossy vegetation, and you can see again the sculpt work as well looks great. Lots of nice texturing that you can see here through the course of the model as far as the vegetation and everything. And you've also got like old, destroyed trees and stuff sitting here where our compies are standing, and you can see even those look super realistic. Of course the sculpt looks great, but you can see the kind of footprints and stuff for our compies. You even have little areas of moss kind of growing on the dead trees, and some branches and stuff kind of sticking out here on the side. And again, the same thing over here, except this one's much larger. You can see how the tree was, kind of growing up here, has now kind of fallen down and broken and everything, giving our compies a nice place to stand and, chill out. But you can see, again, variations of browns and stuff, nice dark wash applied to the tree and everything, just giving it, again, an extremely realistic look, as you always find when it comes to a Dino Dream base. You can even see more of that mossy look here on the underside of that tree. So absolutely gorgeous when it comes to a setting to put some Compsognathus into. I think Dino Dream completely, hit the nail right on the head when it comes to where they should have created a compy diorama. This is definitely it, especially with the addition of that watery area, looking like a little sort of an area of water kind of leading out of that stream. And then here on the underside, we have to turn it around because we actually have it the wrong way. But you can see again, Compsognathus group, Dino Dream, and you can also see my limited edition number. The overall run is of 3,000, so if you are interested in this, you absolutely need to order it as soon as possible so you don't miss out. And then, of course, the Jurassic World logo and Dino Dream down here. So let's go ahead, get our compies on the base, and we'll check it out once it's fully put together. And there we go, we have our compies now standing in their respective places, and you can see it looks super, super cool now with the compies all on the base. I don't know if this one is supposed to have his foot up in the air, but when I put him into the actual slot for him to go into the base, that's just the way he stands. So it kind of looks like he's taking a step, you know, and it sort of looks like he's walking down there, so that makes sense. But you can see, again, it is absolutely gorgeous with the compies on the base, and everything just comes to life so nicely, just looking like pretty much a scene straight out of the Lost World Jurassic Park, with our compies now living in their area that they live in that film. Really is just magic, that movie. All of the first three Jurassic films, in my opinion, are absolute magic. Even if Jurassic Park 3 isn't everyone's favorite, I love that movie, and the entire idea of these dinosaurs just living in their own world, basically, on these islands, and for the most part, usually undisturbed by man, is just so cool. So having a diorama of the compies living on Isla Sorna, again, this is just incredible if you ask me. So as far as a size goes, when it comes to a length, I don't know where we should go. I guess from this tree to this tree. For the base, you were looking at about 11 3/4 inches, or right around maybe a hair under 30 centimeters. Now, if we were to measure the compies themselves, like there's going to be a lot of different sizes because there's so many, but for a length, we'll just measure one. For a length, you're looking at about 5 3/4 inches. It's a little over 5.5, but closing in on 5 3/4 inches, or about 14.5 centimeters in length. The highest point from the ground up, I would say, would be this compy's tail, about 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters to the highest point of the diorama. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being standing here in the water of our compy diorama. And you can get a pretty good idea, I think, as far as a size goes for this diorama overall. It's probably where you would expect it to be size-wise. And if you are familiar with the older compies from Dino Dream, these compies are in the exact same scale, the exact same size range as the original compies that were released by Dino Dream quite a ways back. And then for a random Compsognathus comparison, you can see we have the Toy Monster International Captives version of their compy, obviously one of the metallic versions, but standing in here with the Dino Dream compies, and you can see that definitely is a bit smaller than our Dino Dream versions, and you know, that's kind of to be expected since that is a minifigure. But we also have one of the more popular releases when it comes to Jurassic Park style compies, as we have the Papo version here next to the Dino Dream versions, and you can see the Papo version is quite a bit larger than our Dino Dream versions. We've also got an old Jurassic Park Compsognathus figure, again from the Jurassic Park toy line, if you happen to have that one to kind of stand in here for a comparison. And then the final comparison is not a Compsognathus at all, but it is a Mattel Velociraptor, because if you are a Jurassic collector, there's a pretty good chance you have a Mattel Raptor in your collection, so one that I felt like would be a good one for a final comparison. So this Dino Dream Compsognathus pack is absolutely amazing. Yet again, they completely knock this out of the park and provide us with one of the nicest dioramas I've ever seen from Dino Dream. They never cease to impress. They always blow my mind with every release that they have, but this is definitely one of my favorites, undoubtedly, and I have a lot of really good stuff from Dino Dream, but the entire idea of having a little pack of compies here together, kind of standing by the side of the water, you know, exactly where you kind of see them for the most part in the Lost World Jurassic Park, is just picture perfect. You know, it really is the perfect place, the perfect setting to create a Compsognathus diorama, and I think they did a great job on it. Not just the compies, but the entire area that they are inhabiting here. It looks as realistic and lifelike as it gets, and definitely sets the tone for the model and really creates the scene in a beautiful and very faithful way to the Lost World Jurassic Park. But as you look at the actual compies themselves, again, they are so perfect to what it looks like when it comes to a Jurassic Park style Compsognathus. Not only have they released the single most screen accurate Compsognathus models that I have ever seen and probably will ever see, but they've also nailed the paint apps on them. The paint apps are perfect, in my opinion, to what you see on Jurassic Park compies, and that just kind of follows through with the fact that Dino Dream has been releasing Jurassic Park style compies for a long time, and they've always been, spot on to what you see in the film. Previously, I would have said, again, Dino Dream holds the spot when it comes to having the best Jurassic Park compies anywhere. They still continue to reign supreme when it comes to that, because these are just as gorgeous as the older ones, but now we have an amazing diorama to kind of have them all contained within. I also love the fact that we have nice poses for each and every one of them. Every compy has a different pose, and again, adding so much life and realism to the model just is probably I would say the icing on the cake for the entire thing. It just really looks so real and so high quality. It is easily one of the best Jurassic Park models that I now have in my collection. So if you are interested in picking one of these up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Lana Time Shop, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link. Absolutely pick up this amazing compy diorama, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.